Hey, I'm Ron Drotos from keyboardimprov.com, and welcome to our journey through the real book number 250, 250. Somehow these numbers are milestones. I don't know why. There's 400 tunes in the real book, so we're, 5/8 through. Amazing. I started this, I believe, in 2016. Now it's 2022. And kind of feels like it's the home stretch, even though there's 150 left to go. But each step of the journey is just as valuable and rewarding as the whole journey too, because that's where we are. We're always at a step of the journey, so we have to enjoy that, right? Whether it's our playing in the short term or the long term. So this is My Ship by Kurt Weill. And as with all these jazz piano standards, we're looking how to play them on piano from a holistic point of view, not just the notes on the page, because there's actually even no words on this page, right? This is the 6th edition of the real book. The cover is long come off, 6th edition. It's the sort of regular version, not the vocal real book. The back's coming apart too. And that's a badge of honor. It means these books have been used. And the lyrics, which are really equally important with these songs, are by, in this case, Ira Gershwin, who was George Gershwin's lyric writing brother. Wrote a lot of songs with his brother. And if you know the song Love Is Here to Stay, which we tend to know as Our Love Is Here to Stay, it's actually, the lyrics are about a love, right? It's about, I'll love you forever, even though the Rockies may tumble, Gibraltar may crumble, our love is here to, they're only made of clay, our love is here to stay. But it's not a romantic love song. It's actually a song from Ira Gershwin to his brother George. It's a brotherly love song. Could be interpreted the other way too. A little trivia about that. And I believe it was the last song the Gershwins wrote together before George's untimely and early death. My Ship, music by Kurt Weill, lyrics by Ira Gershwin. I have a little oblique connection with Kurt Weill that sort of makes me feel connected with him, because when I moved to New York City and started playing as a professional in New York in 1989, it was still possible to work with some people who had worked with people like Kurt Weill. So I played some concerts as musical director at the 92nd Street Y on the Upper East Side of Manhattan, and we did these concerts called Lyrics and Lyricists in the 90s. They're still doing them then, and with bringing in people to musical direct and such. And the producer at the time was someone named Maurice Levine, and he had been Kurt Weill's music director and conductor for some of Kurt's later Broadway shows. I think A Touch of Venus might have been one that they did together. So I get a little connection, would hear a story every once in a while. Kurt Weill's a fascinating composer because he's mostly well known for, you know the song? Mack The Knife from the Threepenny Opera, originally sung in German. And Kurt Weill is sort of like a Richard Rodgers in that he has two different styles of composing, an early style and a later style. In Rodgers' case, it was when he was working with Lorenz Hart as a lyricist, and then his style changed when he started working with Oscar Hammerstein. And in Kurt Weill's case, it was when he emigrated to America from Germany. His style changed. It's pretty interesting to compare the two. And he morphed from a style that sounds sort of like German cabaret, you know, from the 20s, to a maybe more typical American Broadway style, you know, and it was part of maybe that lyricism was there all along, but it came out in different ways, and he brought a little bit more of a bluesy touch to some of his songs. So My Ship, though, in the jazz world, is really associated with Miles Davis and the arranger Gil Evans, particularly Gil's arrangement he did for Miles Davis in the 50s. It's one of the all-time great orchestrations. So check it out. Summertime is from that same era, if you know that one that they did together. But listen to Gil, not to be confused with the pianist Bill Evans, who were both working with Miles around the same time. Gil Evans' music was very influenced by the Claude Thornhill big band of the 30s and 40s, which he was an arranger for. And it was a big band, a jazz band with trumpets and saxes and all that. but they went for a very mellow sound. They would use French horn, or they'd have the saxes play without vibrato, and sometimes at very light tempos. Beautiful, gorgeous music. Listen to their arrangement of There's a Small Hotel, that song. I don't think Gil did that arrangement. I'm not totally sure, but I don't think he did that one. But really beautiful, sort of emblematic or typical of the sound of that band. The sound of that band, this is the connection here, the sound of the Claude Thornhill band directly influenced the birth of the Cool band, which Gil Evans was also associated with. I was Jerry Mulligan's assistant in 87, 88, and he would talk about that, how he and Gil Evans and John Lewis and a couple others created the birth of the Cool band with Miles as the front man, so to speak, to base it on a smaller group, a nonet, 9-piece version of the Claude Thornhill, maybe 16, 17-piece big band. And to bring a little bit more of a bebop sensibility to it too with Miles and those younger players at the time. But then when Miles and Gil Evans reunited in the 50s for their series of 3 great albums, Miles Ahead, which is what this is from, Porgy and Bess and Sketches of Spain, those are 3 albums you should know really well. They brought that sort of mellowness of the orchestrations, sort of just a beautiful background. That's not quite the word background, but a beautiful, like if Miles is the Mona Lisa in the painting, as the lead, the front melodic player on trumpet, the background, everything behind the Mona Lisa and around the Mona Lisa's figure is Gil Evans. The frame, the context that Miles is in, and it's just gorgeous and really wonderful. And this is one of the most famous examples. There's a jazz magazine, Downbeat, you might know, and I had a letter published once in Downbeat because in Gil Evans' orchestration of this, he uses lots of very advanced techniques like chord voicings with minor ninths between this writer had written an article, pointed that out, reharmonizations, instead of going and starting on an F6, Gil Evans would start on the E7, and then an E flat and go up to the D. So he'd do these chromatic kind of descending patterns and come up with some unusual chords too. I think there's a D in the right hand or top of the orchestra with an E flat in the left at one point, something like that. These polychords that come from Stravinsky and such. But so this writer had written an article in Downbeat about all the advanced sort of or innovative techniques Gil Evans used in this arrangement, which was fair enough. It was a great article. But the title, I think that the editors probably put to it was something like, Gil Evans' innovative techniques or something like that. And so I wrote a letter, and it got published. I said, it was an excellent article, and yes, they're all innovative techniques, but I said probably the most innovative thing he did was he actually used Kurt Weill's original introduction from the sheet music. I said most jazz musicians never look at the original sheet music. They just get their songs from this. So what Kurt Weill had done in the sheet music was he started with like an A flat, I think it was an A flat triad, and he just went down, down until he got to that 5, the C chord, which is the 5 in the key of F, and then finally did. So Gil Evans literally lifted the sheet music introduction that everybody in musical theater would play and put it into the most sort of hip, if you will, innovative arrangement for a jazz musician. He also added a nice countermelody. It's kind of impossible to play it all on piano. What I'm going to do is start with that introduction, but I'll make it my own somehow. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll arpeggiate it or add some different chords. I want to see how I feel, but I'm going to start with his arrangement too. And then the Kurt Weill arrangement. And then I'm going to take my cue from the Miles, My Ship, the collaboration with Gil Evans. I'm going to do a lot of chord substitution, either tritone substitutions, or sometimes you just start a half step away and then go down and see if you can make it fit with the melody. What if I start on an F sharp chord and then go to F, right? I don't know. What if I start on F F, and then go to F sharp, and then G, and then A flat, and then A, and then D, G, C, F sharp, F. And you know, see how you can get back. Okay, I'm going somewhere totally different. Keith Jarrett's talked about that, doing chord substitutions and then saying, oh, how can I get back on track? That's the fun part. Don't know where this is going, but I'll land on my feet if I just sort of listen and see where it goes. And if I don't, I will in the next measure, right? I like the use of block chords, and there's a double time section in that arrangement, double time kind of feel, where, I don't know, maybe that'll come in a little bit. So this is going to be a highly influenced arrangement that's highly influenced by the Gil Evans arrangement, and not maybe in a literal way, but in a sort of the spirit of Gil Evans, and maybe literal at times. But I'm going to start with Kurt Weill's intro done in my own way. Did you notice that last voicing? In the right, it's an F chord. In the right hand, I just did a major seventh. E, F, A, C. Why wouldn't I put the ninth in? The ninth would have sounded really good too. Why did I put that major seventh? I mean the major seventh and then the F right next to it, right? You know, usually we're told, don't play the root or don't double notes. The F's down here, so don't double it here. You know, people say that's a rule. It's not. I mean, ask Oscar Peterson or Gil Evans even half the time. They double notes, right? It sounds great. But why wouldn't I use the ninth when it sounds a little more colorful? Well, I did have the ninth in the right hand, the left hand rather. But you know what it is? I tend to think in terms of intervals with voicings. I wanted that minor second there. You know, I wanted that sound in the middle. Kind of gives a nice bell-like sound, a little rich sound, like you're hitting a little bell in the overtones. You know? So chord voicings are very individual. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't play a chord voicing that you like because it's not, quote, hip enough. It's hip if you like it and if it's used in a way that reflects the sound that you're looking for. All the great jazz pianists have found their own chord voicings, or at least the type of chord voicing that they like and they know how to use. It doesn't have to be the same ones that everybody else uses. Very important point. And it's a point that's getting more lost and lost these days. So My Ship, I hope that inspires you to check out Gil Evans, maybe some more Miles Davis, certainly this arrangement. Also some Kurt Weill. Listen to a Broadway album of Kurt Weill songs and just listen to the songs. Wonderful, wonderful songs. And he was a big influence on everybody from Bob Dylan to most jazz musicians, especially through My Ship and Mack the Knife, and pop singers through Mack the Knife as well. Could go on for about 2 more hours on this song, but we're going to cut it here. Good luck with everything. If you're interested in taking your playing to a new level of fluency, check out my keyboardimprov.com video course. Got hundreds of lessons there for you. And as always, enjoy the journey and let the music flow.